Code and Conversation. And this week, as always, you guys know I have special guests, but these two guests, I'm just gonna say they're more special than any other guests because here's the reason why. Number one, well, okay, one is, and then the other one, we just kind of let them in. But one, because we went to school together, right? And so we alumni.
Yeah.
Illustrious North Carolina Agriculture and Technical University. And then, his co-part, she went to an HBCU, so we let her slide up in the club. So, but no, both of the two I'm going to talk to this week and have this conversation with. I've known them for a while. Obviously, Darryl and I, we went to school together, and then Shameka and I met first company, worked together, actually on the way to an interview is where we met. And we've maintained that relationship since then. So I am proud to welcome the co-owners and co-founders of Nexus Federal, Mr. Darryl Foster and Shameka Ottman. Welcome to podcast. It's two of y'all, so I'm gonna let y'all get like that long applause so I can get in there. So welcome. Thank you guys for taking the time to come onto the podcast. But so I give a little introduction, but I always like to let my guests give their own introduction. So as always, ladies first, Shameka, we're gonna start with you.
Hello, my name is Shameka Ottman. I am co-founder and president of Nexus Federal. We've been up and running for about 3 years now, actually, supporting the federal government.
All right, Mr. Foster.
Hello, my name is Darryl Foster. I'm co-founder and chief operating officer for Nexus Federal, Inc. It's good to meet everyone.
All right. So, like I said a little bit in the introduction, right? So I've known both of them a long time, and I'm super. First of all, I'm super proud of both of them for starting this company. I remember when I saw the post coming through about it, that they had announced it and launched it. Like, I was just so happy. And mostly because, much like Issa Rae, like I'm just rooting for everybody Black. So I was just like, yes. I was like, happy for both of them because like excited for them to take that journey, but also just happy from like what it means, right? To have, a Black owned company out there, like doing the things that they love to do and kind of taking that into their own hands. I thought it was awesome. And the opportunities that they're going to create for others. Right. So I was super, super excited about that. So I was like, okay, got to connect with them, got to get on the podcast and just have them talk about that journey. So we're going to start there. So, talk us through just kind of what the thought process was and how you guys, came to create Nexus Federal. Was it just like y'all was at lunch one day and was like, you know what? F this. We're going to do it ourselves. Right? That's what most contractors do. Like, man, I can do this myself. Or was it more of like, kind of a strategic kind of plan as you guys were rolling it out? Walk us through that.
Well, you go ahead, Shameka, because I think Shameka really was the person that really kind of sparked it.
I think so. So honestly, for the past, almost 10 years, we've been supporting these small companies and helping to build business. I've learned a good amount from the companies. However, it was time for us to kind of switch gears, take the lessons learned from these previous companies that we've worked for and actually start to branch out and do our own thing. There were some things that we thought that we could do better. So why not actually, make steps forward and create that opportunity for others to kind of go along with some of the things that we saw could be improved. Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Mm-hmm. Darryl, what about you?
Yeah.
So eventually Shameka came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in, working on starting a company with her. And, I took some time to think about it. And I was like, I think that'd be a good idea. I think that based off of our past, we both worked for large companies, and we both had similar experiences with working with small companies, having worked for 2 small companies at the same time. I thought this would be a good opportunity for us to really jump out there. I thought we were in a good place in our career. We were established. And, we were just in a good place to be able to launch something and build up something that we would want to work for. And, we would be able to implement our ideas and how we wanted things to look. So that was one of the big reasons why I was wanting to jump on board. I never thought that, just going back to even when we were in school, David, like I never thought that a day would come when I would run my own company. So that in that sense, I'm still kind of getting used to. I run my own company. I run payroll that comes into my checking account and all that kind of stuff.
It's a lot more to think about.
Used to being in a position to do and realizing that people are looking to me as a professional who's running his own organization. So it's hard to kind of transition from the employee mindset to the company owner mindset.
Right. Yeah. It's a whole different feeling when you walk in the room and realize that, you look to the left, look to the right, be like, oh yeah, y'all waiting on me, huh? Like, or something comes up and it's like, hey, what are we gonna do about this? You sit there looking at the table like, yeah, what are we?
Right.
Oh, wait, y'all want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, look, and you hit it on the head, right? Like it's that employee mindset versus that, kind of leadership ownership mindset, right? It's a totally different way of thinking and way of processing and looking at things. And I would even, put it back to being the difference between an individual contributor and a manager, right? It's the same kind of shift in mindset where it's so funny, right? Each level, the things that you would get frustrated at, right? When you're an employee, individual contributor, like, man, why don't they just do this, right? Then you can imagine and be like, oh, that's why we don't do that, right? Like there's all these other things that you just don't see, right? And then from an ownership standpoint now, like now you own the company, you're running things. It's like, there's things when, you're an employee, you're like, well, I don't understand why they don't do this. Why don't we go after this? And now it's like, okay, context comes into that play. It's like, man, there's so many other things you have to think about and kind of plan for. And, to that point, whereas it's not just you anymore, right? You as soon as you start having employees, right, you got other people that are depending on you to make those decisions to make sure that it's best for the company and not yourself. So I want to talk to me about like the journey of kind of getting started, right? A lot of people, look at this. A lot of people get the ideas like, oh, I'm just going to start my business, right? And they kind of say, I'm going to do it. And then they don't. And then they look at things, whatever. And it's like, how do you get started? So kind of walk us through like the process of how you guys got it started.
So it really kind of started with, we were blessed to be able to be connected to someone who was able to connect us to someone who was able to kind of be a mentor to us and really kind of show us the ropes and say, these are the things that I want. Well, one, they said that they just wanted to help young Black entrepreneurs and they wanted to see us in this space. They felt like, there was enough for everybody to eat.
Right.
Sat us down and, kind of showed us the ropes. That person had previously been a company owner themselves and sold before. And so, they were able to kind of sit us down and, share lessons learned and just say, all right, step 1, you need to do this. Step 2, you need to do that. Step 3, and kind of walk us through that. And we just kind of followed through on all of that. And that business relationship still exists today. And we're still in contact with that person and working with them. And they now have a firm where they offer that type of service professionally, but
nice.
They set us on as clients. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, guinea pigs.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing, of course, we're a startup, which means we're operating on a very lean budget, but we learned very early on to kind of leverage professionals.
Right.
That goes to finding good accountants, someone who's going to really handle our day-to-day, auditing, our benefits, all of that stuff. We didn't try to manage everything ourselves, so we could really focus on the business aspect of what we do. We do IT consulting. We want to focus on business development, bringing in great talent, and focusing on that, not trying to operate every little piece of the business.
Right.
So I think because we did that early on, we were kind of able to establish a really firm infrastructure to build upon.
Okay, that's nice. So for those that don't know, right? So there may be some listeners and people watching this who are like, okay, cool. So they kind of do, work for the federal government. Like, we lived and breathed that space, right? You guys more so now. I left because I was like, nope, I'm done.
It's definitely interesting.
I've done all I can. I want to move on to things, but just kind of, walk them through like what that space is like and some of the challenges, but also like just some of the things that are exciting about it and why you guys, chose to kind of, build your careers in that field.
There's just a lot of opportunity. Just, there's always a lot of opportunity. There's more work than there are bodies to fulfill the work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a great opportunity space. There's some limits factors, when you work in the intel community, you got to tell them all your business. You don't get to really have a private life. Everything you do, you kind of got to think about what the effects are to maintaining your clearance and that kind of thing. So those are some of the limiting factors. But at the end of the day, having this clearance also provides some level of stability in this particular space in government contracting.
Honestly, the mission is exciting. I don't think there's anything like it. The types of projects that we get to work on, the types of impacts that it has, throughout the world sometimes is amazing to me. So just having a little piece of that space is exciting to me. So my goal is to tackle as much of that and, grow that as much as we possibly can.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always tell people like the only thing that I miss from that space is the problem set, right? The challenges.
Yes.
Right. I mean, you get a chance to work on some things that the only ones the only place in the world, right, that are trying to do some of the things and building systems in the way that you have to trying to say this intelligently without giving away too much, but building systems in a way that the unique challenges that you get from the government, right? Things that you see at that clearance level, you just won't see other places, right? And it's I think the transition for me out of it was so funny because I think the first client that I worked with going to the private sector, I remember I was looking at their application setup. I was like, all right, great. So where's your security setup? You guys are using SSL and all these things, right? And they were just like, what? I was like, wait a minute. I was like, so like you're not secure anything. I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, we'll do security stuff later. And I was just like, hey. Interesting, right? So
security is first, and that's the first thing before they allow you to do anything that you have to establish.
It is
2 years just waiting to pass all the security hurdles before you begin the project. It's ridiculous. So there's pros and cons, yeah.
Yeah. So it was definitely interesting coming from that space, and then applying some of that to a lot of the customers that I work with, right? To an extent, right? It's the different things that kind of drive the initiatives for the project, right? Private sector is end of the day, I'm trying to get out because I'm trying to get that revenue, right? Like we got to go out, we got to get paid, right? So, it's, they're not going to hear it's like, yeah, well, we're going to sit for 3 months while security looks at it. Nah, what we going to do is we're going to launch and then, so, with that, I want to kind of shift topics, talking about just, one of the topics that I cover a lot on this podcast, I talk to a lot of people about is, diversity and inclusion, specifically in tech, right? And I think for the biggest thing over the last couple of years that you've seen a lot of big voices for is like just representation, the fact that it matters, right? The ability to look around and see in any kind of room, in any kind of position, people that look like you or have a similar background or, went to the same school or, at least went to an HBCU. Because, like I said, we let Shameka in the club, even though she chose wrong, but we don't hold a grudge for that.
Right.
Figured it out. But no, seriously, like that, as especially with this past year, like we saw a lot of people come out, we saw a lot of companies kind of come out and say a lot of good things, right? And make a lot of good statements. But the fact still remains that it's an area that we need to work on, right? So I want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on that from in your space, what you see from a diversity and inclusion standpoint, because it's been too long since I've been in that field. So I remember it being like somewhat diverse and kind of looking around, but not super diverse. Like, so
right.
Tell me what you guys' thoughts on there in your field and some of the things you think you guys could do to probably help improve that.
Actually, I would say that the field is improving. What I'm seeing isn't necessarily reflecting, the world that I see outside, of the vault. That's what we call it in the cleared space. But it's improving. What I mean by that is I'm seeing more women. I'm seeing more minorities and, leadership type roles, not necessarily at the top, leadership levels, but I'm seeing just more representation. Even back, we both actually met at a large company that had a real huge diversity initiative. That opportunity to kind of give people this level of clearance and open doors for people has definitely shown itself, and even other small businesses that I see. However, there needs to be more focus, I think, on once you get them in the door, making sure that you're directing them towards areas of growth and not necessarily stovepiping them in positions that aren't challenging them. So I think part of that is, ourselves kind of feeling, oh, we made it, we're doing better than anybody else in our family. So I'm comfortable staying right here because at least I'm safe.
Right.
The other part of that is being looked over and having to do that 10 times more than the next person sitting next to us. So we need to still find that kind of happy medium where we take opportunities when given, but making sure that we have other companies like Nexus Federal that are opening those doors and providing those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Darryl, what's your take?
Yeah, I agree. I do see a lot more, a little bit more diversity than ever before. Even from the standpoint of, you always saw, from time to time you see women around, but you often see like SIs or testers and stuff like that. But I'm actually starting to even see women on the development teams actually for development, and I've come, not just Shameka, but other women who are actually hardcore developers, which is, kind of a breath of fresh air because it's such a male-dominated field. So it's good to see. And I think even as a company, as we grow, we're in a better position. We certainly want to support initiatives that will help include young girls of color to come up into STEM areas and to, get into software development and get into the arena that we play in on today.
I agree. It could be a very intimidating environment to work in. You're in a room with all these men. People may talk over you. People may not necessarily listen to your ideas. So I find that a lot of women, even though they have the skill, they have the ability, may not necessarily have the self-confidence to pursue positions that I know that they're qualified for. So I kind of want to be a guide, kind of a mentor to kind of help facilitate that. You can do this. This is perfect based on your background. Tell me what it is you really want to do. Don't tell me what you think you can do. Tell me what you want to do, and let's talk about how we're going to get you there. And that's across the board. But I find that women specifically usually need that little bit of extra boost to kind of get there. And I think, honestly, it starts way earlier than college, way earlier than, we're thinking about career in STEM. It's about that self-confidence to be who you are, despite any of these external elements, any of this feedback that you're getting from this world. It's internal. So we really want to help to facilitate that at Nexus Federal. Mm-hmm.
So I want to dive a little deeper onto that topic. So Shameka, specifically, like, to your point, like, so Darryl made the point that yes, development, male-driven room, right? So as a woman and as a developer coming up, right? Like, just talk to me about some of the things that, that helped you kind of get through that when you're walking in and you're in a development meeting or something, and there's just all these men, right? Who just, and not just men, but like nerdy men who probably like Star Wars and like all this other stuff, having all these conversations, talking about stuff that, and again, not that a woman can't like those things, but I'm just, there's a stereotype with men and developers, right? And so a lot of times women don't fit into that stereotype because it's like, this is not stuff that we want to talk about. So as you kind of went through that, can you talk to like what that experience is like and some of the things that you did to kind of help you progress to where you are now? Because I think you're absolutely right. Like I'm glad that you said that, because you should be a guide. Like, there should be a young girl who hopefully looks at this and goes, oh, look, mommy, I want to be like her when I grow up.
Right. There is a stereotype, and a lot of that is based on truth. A lot of that, I don't feel like I ever necessarily fit the mold. Even early on when I was in school, studying computer science. It was one of those things where I did fall into the same hurdles that I'm saying, today. I didn't feel confident. I always felt like I had to kind of try 10 times harder. Once I actually got into, corporate America and the environment, and I noticed that the person sitting right next to me wasn't necessarily smarter than I was. And I spent a few years, really just learning that through basically hands-on. Right. I think if I could kind of tell any young woman who's starting out, you are just as smart, you are just as able as anyone else. What you have to do is basically carve out your own role. Don't try to follow that mold, that stereotype. You're not like them. You are who you are. Do you. Do you. You got this. You got this.
All right. Yeah. So I want to shift topics to my favorite topic that I always talk about because I'm super proud of it. But you know, HBCUs, right? And I feel like this is, you know, this has been the year of HBCU, right? We saw a lot of donations this last year, right? So a lot of HBCUs, a lot of money coming in HBCUs, more than some HBCUs had ever seen, which is good, right? You know, whether or not, you know, sometimes I call it guilt money, right? Like, it's like, oh, we feel guilty here, write this check. But look, at HBCU level, I'm like, we're going to take it. We'll take all that guilt money because, you know, one of the things that I always speak passionate about that I'm very proud of is that because having gone through it and been there, like I know what that's going to do, right? And I know the generations of new leaders that will help develop. And so we've had donations. We have, you know, we have the vice president now graduating from an HBCU. We had the Black Panther. You know, now granted, both of those went to Howard, so we're gonna let that slide. They made poor decisions early in their life, but as you see, even going to HBCU, like it benefited them to the end, right? So they could have been worse. They could have went to FAMU. Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, but just kind of as I said on the last podcast, look, you will always see this between HBCU alum. Yes. We're one big family. We get picky on each other. Y'all just can't pick on us.
Family, not you bet not.
To be clear.
To be very clear. So I want to get you guys' take on it because I felt like, you know, this kind of past 12 to 15 months was, you know, it was more than I had seen before for HBCUs as far as like just, you know, visibility, right? Everything from sports, we've got a lot of, you know, like big time athletes now thinking about like, hey, maybe I'll just go to a HBCU instead of these bigger colleges, right? Like I said, you saw a lot of people donating money. McKinsey, whatever, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, can't remember what her maiden name or name that she's going by now. But I mean, she gave all the bag away. Like she was just like Oprah in it. You get 50 million. You get 50 million. I was like, yes. Right. I'm not an HBCU, but can I no? Okay. Right. To my alumni. So what's your guys' take on that, right? Is looking at HBCUs and where they are now and kind of looking forward, right, with, you know, how the pandemic is kind of changing things. And I think that's going to affect even going forward. Right? I don't think education is going to be the same in how you do some of this stuff. What do you guys see the state of HBCUs and what would you like to see kind of going forward? We'll start with Shameka. We'll let the family person go
first. The state of HBCUs. Honestly, I've always felt that HBCUs have had a rich history. A lot of successful people have always, throughout history, come from HBCUs. The visibility that we're getting now, I think, is huge. Right. I think a lot of people who went to PWIs or people who are non-minorities are starting to see a little bit more what we're capable of. And what I want really out of all of this is for young Black children to see, you know what, this is an environment where I could really grow. I could really be the best I can be outside of all of the stuff that's happening in the world today. I don't know about you guys, but those 4 years that I had at FAMU, that bubble that I had, where I could really just focus on my education, focus on my character and who I wanted to be as a person, it's like anything I've ever experienced in my life. The opportunity for children to now not necessarily have access, because the access was there, but now have the visibility and the, I don't know, just having people that they kind of look up to kind of pave that way towards making that decision that could be so great and life-changing. I think that's great. So even if it's all symbolic, because we've known this for years, even if it's symbolic, I think it's huge. Just like a Barack Obama, just like having this Vice President Harris. These people, yeah, they may be, you know, just figures, but I mean, they could really help to institute a lot of change. Right. And I see that, you know, these great, huge institutions are donating to HBCUs, but I'm hoping that that trickles down to the average American also making donations because they see the utility and the contributions that HBCUs can make on this country.
Okay.
Yeah, I think now more than ever, HBCUs and what we're seeing in the media has completely debunked this myth that HBCUs don't prepare you for success in the world. I mean, we look at Stacey Abrams from Spelman. We look at people like Keisha Lance Bottoms from Florida A&M. We look at just like the newly appointed dean of the College of Engineering at Tech is an MIT grad. So that's tremendous. So our HBCUs are definitely doing great work. We're seeing more blue chip or 4-star, 3-star athletes that are that are looking back at HBCUs. You got Deion Sanders that's at Jackson State, bringing some star power to Jackson State in their football program. So now is the time to really take some serious look at our institutions. We've made some great strides. Our campuses look much different when we were freshmen. I know it's like that at A&T. I believe it's the same thing as at FAMU has
for sure
developments over the years. So just the time that we've been out of school and where they are today is kind of remarkable. So I'm happy to see that people are stroking some big checks, and I hope that that starts a wave of other people will come on board and support our institutions in the same way and see the quality that we're putting out. It is very special to us, and we do have a lot of pride because of what Shameka talked about, how when we were there, it was hallowed ground that we were nurtured in. It gave us 4 years of an opportunity to be exactly who we are, and we had professors and people who believed in us and who championed for us, especially like people like God rest his soul, Dr. Rennick, who was the chancellor of A&T while we were in school, just recently passed away. May he rest in peace. But he was always seen around campus, always interacting with students. He was always reachable, very touchable, and wanted to see us succeed. And he was himself an HBCU graduate, having graduated from Central State. And, he also chancellor at Michigan and Dearborn. So, he had been in both worlds. So HBCUs are definitely great places to be and produce some very good, talented people.
Yeah. And you know what, I want to hit on even further what Shameka said, right? The biggest thing for me, honestly, those 4 years been at HBCU, so for me growing up in California, I didn't know anything about HBCUs, right? I didn't even know they existed until Morehouse sent me a letter, and I was like, okay, what's this? And then I got Morehouse, I got Tuskegee, and then Hampton sent me something. I was like, okay, what is this? And I started looking at all this stuff, and I'm looking through the brochures. I'm like, ain't nothing but Black people in here. Like, what? I was like, Mom, is this a thing? Like, wait, like we got schools where it's just us? I was like, no. I got to find out about this. And so for me, flying to Greensboro and landing and going to walking to campus at A&T, and I was like, wow. But then also talking to people just who lived around there. And it was like, oh, you're thinking about going to A&T? Oh, let me tell you this. And just the pride in itself and the level of which the people carried themselves, for me was something I hadn't seen, right? Because, me growing up in LA and then outside of California was like, okay, cool. It's not that, Black people walking with their head down, but it was just, it wasn't that big of a thing. It was like, all right, well, we'll probably go to SC or something like that or whatever. But coming here where I was surrounded for 4 years with other people who were all, yes, finding themselves. But I went through all of that with them. My college boys, we're still friends, right? I'm, the godfather to some of their children. It's just, so it was and I wouldn't have made it without them. And so the bonds that I created there and the fact that we were all fighting that struggle together, I look back on it and I'm like, I don't think I could have gone to college anywhere else, right? Because, not that I wouldn't have made it in the classes, it's not that, but just the growth that I was able to get and the comfort, right? And I'm like, I can just be me, right? In whatever. I'm not explaining things to people or something like that or whatever. That was huge, right? And so it was definitely interesting, going there and then coming out, right? And then starting a job because I was just so used, right, to just seeing us every day. Then I go to work and I'm like, where they at? Wait a minute, oh, okay, I gotta come back to the real world now, and we ain't out here no more. But yeah, it's definitely so. I am. I'm ecstatic to see the visibility that we're getting. I'm ecstatic to see people talking about it. There, I do think we still have a lot of work to do. Like even recently, my cousins who are in Georgia, who matter of fact, I'm gonna make sure they see this when it comes out. Yes, I'm talking about y'all. So their sons, right? I remember I was watching one of them play baseball, and I was like, oh, so it's about that time. He's like 15, 16. I was like, so we talking about college? It's like, you know, we're going. We thinking like, you know, Morehouse. We thinking, you know, maybe, you know, A&T. Can I drop that in here? I was like, definitely not FAMU, but you know, we can figure something out, right? And so my cousin Flip, she goes, like, I'm just gonna play HBCU. And I was like, whoa, what? I was like, hold up. I was like, why? And she was like, well, I just, you know, I don't want them to be. I was like, you don't want them to be what? I was like, now watch your words now, because remember who you're talking to, right? I was like, but no, but seriously, like I want to hear, like, what are your, you know, as a parent, what are your concerns? Right? Like let's address some of these concerns, because I want to know if they're real concerns or if they're myths and things that you've heard. I was like, because what I can do is like make some calls. Let's go take you to a campus. Let's go introduce you to some, like, let's go. You need to go see the actual environment, right, and then have that, you know, that decision of, well, I don't know if my son will get the proper things that he needs. Cause I'm like, let me tell you, they will, right? And those are some of the things that I think that, you know, we've got to fight. Like those are just the fights we have to have individually. Like all the money in the world, that's great, but we got to go back out there just being ambassadors for our schools and letting them know that, no, this is a great place to be. And this is where it can lead. Not even just, yes, like the Kamala Harris's and everybody else is great, but the average people, like, you know, just the, hey, they live down the street from me and they got a decent house. Shameka got a nice car. What does Shameka do? Oh man, she went to FAMU. Like, okay, let's hear about her. Let's hear about Darryl, what he did, because those are the things that I think we can get parents and even get the kids to understand that, look, there's a path for you no matter what. Like, you don't, just because you come here doesn't mean you got to be, you know, some big superstar. Like we produce all kinds of talent out there. So definitely happy for HBCUs to be getting the visibility. Hope that it continues. I continue to make my donations, even past, you know, my student loans that I paid off a long time ago. But I'm glad it went. Look, I can speak for A&T. It went to the right places. Because man, I walk on that campus, I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm the petty one. I'm like, for real? For real?
Right.
I can't get none of this.
Right.
None?
Right.
I can't get none of this. Right? Like the new student union. Oh.
Right. Oh, it's immaculate.
I would have never graduated. I've been at student union all day. Right. They got everything. So they got Chick-fil-A in the student union. I was done. I was like, what? I will be here. Hey, don't you get a test? You don't understand. They just made some new Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Like this test can wait.
Right.
Right. And they got these lounge areas with these big flat screen TVs where I can kick my feet up and just watch TV.
Like right. So much. But look, if that's a sacrifice I had to make for future generations, okay, fine.
Right.
You had to pay.
I will be that old head walking around like, hey, you know, in my day, we had all this. None of this is on the yard. That's the yard, sir. What are you talking about? So we're going to get to the end segment, which I like to call the last sip. So we're going to ask the question that everybody always kind of struggles to answer. We're going to do that right after this. We're going to take a cool break. But once we come back, the last sip. So happy and excited to tell you about the Jumpstart Awards brought to you by On the Corner Media. Hey, the Jumpstart Awards are a great way to get your career started, either IT or cybersecurity. It's sponsored by On the Corner Media as well as our good partner Uber Ether. And here's how this works. Basically, you go to onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards and you enter in and see if you qualify. Right? We're so excited to do this and give back to the community. What we're doing as part of the awards is that 3 lucky participants will get a full year's access to Coursera.org. The other 3 will get 6 months access. And so what we want to provide is make sure that you have a pathway to get to the education and things that you need without having to pay the exorbitant cost. So again, head to onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards, fill out your first name, last name, email address, and a link to a video just explaining why you want to jump into cybersecurity or why you want to jump on IT and what this award would mean to you. And we're going to keep this going until we give all awards out. So again, onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards. Thanks. See you later, C3 Squad. Okay, everybody, we're back. And this segment, affectionately called The Last Sip. Okay, and it's called The Last Sip because usually, like when I started this podcast, it was meant to be a live in-person podcast over cocktails. Since then, things have happened. A little thing called the coronavirus happened. Pandemic happened. Not really meeting up with people as much anymore. And then now just I have these at various times. And so it's not always appropriate to have cocktails with this one. It's like right now, like if we were drinking this early.
If you would have let me know, I would have made that my excuse. Midday.
5 o'clock.
I'm not even going for like honestly. So me, half the time I just forget. Like if it's in the middle of the day like this, I forget to make a cocktail because I literally have to go through this and do more work. And like I think I'm like a borderline alcoholic because I can't just have just one. And once I start drinking, it's like, well, I had one. What's wrong? You know what I mean? Then these emails come in. Don't nothing. Look, there's no. I put it like this. I don't know how to halfway do anything. So I save my drinking for. Darryl, the question is, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that of philanthropy. I always envisioned myself since graduating from school, getting to a point where I want to be able to have my own endowed scholarship to help other people who come from humble beginnings just like me, who need an opportunity to go to school, who would have not been able to go to school if it wasn't for having a scholarship. If I didn't have a scholarship to go to A&T, I was never going to leave Georgia and come up to North Carolina. I would have had to settle for, whatever schools I could go to in Georgia and get on the Hope Scholarship and, kind of keep things local. But I really didn't want to do that. It was beneficial to go away to college and have that going away experience that also aided in my maturation process of life, just getting away from home and kind of being on my own. So I definitely want to get into a position where I can afford to give. We're doing that now, like with Malcolm and David and Nick. We are trying to spark a computer science scholarship endowment. We're going to be including other computer science alumni in that as we move along the way.
Right.
But I do want to one day establish an endowment in my name specifically to help other young people be able to attend A&T.
Man, that's fantastic, man. And I think that's huge. Obviously, making those roads for opportunities to give people that chances. So, yeah, keep me up to date on that, man. Any way I can help, I definitely will. Miss Shameka, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want mine to be a legacy of perseverance, of resilience. My goal in my career and my personal life is really to kind of reach back out to people where life hasn't always been the easiest, to kind of be that place of, encouragement, letting people know that even though, life hasn't always dealt you the easiest hand, that, you can still conquer that. You can still move forward. And part of how I want to, do that is, helping Darryl to create a scholarship to bridge a gap between HBCUs and Nexus Federal. But I also just want to make sure that I'm also like a sense of encouragement. If I inspire at least one person to kind of do something greater than what they thought they could do, I'll feel like my whole life was a success. So I just really want to inspire others. I want my legacy to be motivational, encouraging to someone.
So what's up? You've inspired me. So there you go.
Thank you. One person. I'm good then.
No, you're not. You got more to do. You got more work to do. I'm telling you. Right now, you got more work to do. Before I let you guys go though, I do want to and I meant to do this in the beginning, but we can do it right now. I want to tell about the stories about how we met. I'm trying to think. I don't remember a good Darryl story. I kind of remember. So I remember meeting you through Malcolm, basically.
Yeah.
That's how I remember meeting you.
Malcolm would meet anybody. Like nobody was a stranger to him. He was a little bit more outgoing in that way when we started school than I was, and that's how I met him. You know, he was just the guy that'll just walk up to you and just say, "Hey, my name is Malcolm. What's yours?"
He really would. Like,
really?
Yeah, he was just.
I wish I was that type of person, but no, I'm the opposite.
I literally, I think our first conversation was, he's like, "Hey, my name is Malcolm Player." I was like, "That's not real." I was like, So again, look. And so here's the thing, though, too. I came from Cali, right? I came from LA, and so I had to get used to the whole Southern hospitality type thing, right? So I wasn't really like used to just people. So he was like, "Yeah, my name is Malcolm Player," and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, "Nah, you up to something." But he was that type of dude. He would just walk up to people, whatever, and he was like, "Oh, are you working?" I think it was some programming project for like 160 or 165 or something like that or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, just come over here working with us." And it was Malcolm, Nick, and then there was somebody, David.
Yep.
And then it was you. So then it was like, that was kind of like, again, like I have my crew that I kind of hang around that kind of get me through computer science. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna just hang with them. Like we always kind of work and doing a project together, stuff like that or whatever. And that just kind of went to just kind of like how A&T was. Like I learned very quickly, like find a click for everything that you're doing. Like find your social click, find your engineering click, like and you find a crew and you just roll with them.
That you wanted to do, the people that you wanted to go party with, people that you wanted to
study. All carries over into adulthood, postgraduate. Yeah, still got your same group.
You always have multiple circles.
Yep. And then Shameka and I met. So I specifically remember being on that bus or van or whatever it was, picking us to go interview for Lockheed Martin in Crystal City.
Yes, in Crystal City.
And so it was just, I don't know if there was anybody else on there. I think it was just me and you. And I just remember us just both sitting there talking. I remember I was nervous as I don't know what. So I was like, well, let me just
I was talk to her. You remember Timmy?
I do remember Timmy.
Roommate. So I think Timmy may have been with us. And I can't remember anybody else.
Yeah. And I remember, and why it sticks out in my head so much. One, because when you were like, you went to FAMU, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Cause again, this was my first, I was coming out and I'm just like, man, are they really gonna like, how is this HBCU thing gonna hold up? Right? Like, am I like, all those nerves that you get, is like, okay, like I made this far, but like, they really gonna be like, well, what's A&T type of thing? So that was like, okay, you went to HBCU, cool. And I just remember us talking that whole way through, and literally like, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like, I felt so relaxed after that. Like, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be okay. Like, I didn't think I was gonna get the job, but I was like, I just felt better. I was like, okay, cool. Like, whatever. Like, I met somebody else. This is super cool or whatever. And lo and behold, we both got it. So we both ended up in DC.
I remember we stayed in touch. We wanted to know, did you make it? Right. Remember that letter? I'm like, oh, I'm rich now. I'm rich. Every week.
Right? Oh, I'm not as rich as I
thought. Look, when I tell you about that weekly pay, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Every Friday? What? Then we got up here and it was like, okay, well, here's how much this costs. There's this. I was like, okay. And it was always that, look, I don't know about y'all, but for me, it felt like it was always that one person. As soon as you thought you was like, yeah, I'm good. You would just be out somewhere and somebody be like, oh, yeah, you make, oh, yeah, well, I make it. And then you'd be like, what?
Right.
What? What did I do wrong with my life, Jesus? What? It was so crazy. But
we learned that game real quick. So.
Yeah. Oh, no. Really quick learning game. Look, the biggest thing I tell people, and like you hear it in different things, and I'll call it out for something that even when we started, right? We're talking about you guys knew somebody that introduced you to a mentor, right? If before I leave this earth, man, if anybody that I know, if they don't understand this, is like, you need to learn how to network.
Yes.
Like this, like networking will advance your career. It will save your life. It will put you in situations where like you never thought that you would get in. It's so important. I remember hearing about this on college campus. I was like, I don't really know what they're talking about. I don't want to like, and it was like, I don't want to be fake. I want to be this or whatever. Right. But like, I think for me, coming out of college, going to DC, like in that area, right? Just, in the type of line of work that we were, I started to realize how important that was.
Yeah.
And and it's really just meeting different people, connecting with different people. And I always tell people, don't be fake, like connect with people you literally have something in common with, that you be like, okay, like, this is an adult podcast, but I was like, yo, I fucks with that person. Like, okay, cool. Like, and if you don't, then don't. But you just don't know how over time that just continues to add and add and add. And so when you get to these opportunities that you want to do, it's like, oh, that's right. Let me call Darryl. Darryl might know somebody. Oh, let me call Shameka. Shameka knows somebody. And then the part that I love, I'm, it's the big 40 for me this year, right? But like, as I'm reflecting, I was like, what I love about being at this stage of my life is like, so all these things that I've done, all these connections that I've made, what I love now is being able to go back and what can I do to help somebody else? It's like, oh, wait, you need this? I got you. Right. Don't even apply. Hold on. Let me call the CEO real quick. Yo, I got this young person, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you going where? Let me call this VP. Like, that's the stuff that I love. Like, now it's like the way you can use your network to help other people, right? And then you start connecting those networks, right? And this is the type of stuff that we can do. And I promise I won't get in the rant and get super preachy, but like the stuff that we can do for our people, right? Because now we've made those connections, that network. It's like, okay, let's bring you into this and continue and keep it going, right? And I preach that so many times to people, and the young people that I meet, it was like, you got to learn how to do this. And the funny thing is, like, younger people, especially coming up in this generation of social media, like they do it naturally already, because social media has kind of trained them to connect with different people. And a lot of them are starting to utilize it, right? You see the whole influencer stuff like that or whatever, but it's getting them to apply that outside of just what they see. Like, this is not just a social media thing. You get a bunch of followers to get money. Like, this is a thing that can allow you to grow and move in areas that you never thought you could.
Yep.
So
that's true.
That's my rant. I do that a lot, but it's my podcast. I can do what I want. Look, it is, number one, is great to see both of y'all, right? It really is. I will say, I miss the people out there. I don't miss nothing about DC. I miss y'all. I'll say that. But
I understand.
Other than that, I say this. Listen, as soon as this pandemic is over, because I'm so used to traveling, like I've been locked in this house for so long, I'm gonna be everywhere. But definitely, I'm touching down. I'm coming up that way. It would be great to just grab dinner. And what I got to do to get a shirt. So let me know where I need to send a check. Get that Nexus Federal shirt, because I'm gonna be repping y'all. They be like, I was like, Nexus Federal. I'm like, yeah, y'all need a job. I'm like, y'all know, because like I said, when Issa Rae, I'm rooting for everybody Black. I'm super proud of you guys. Thank you for doing that, and I know you guys are doing it and building something for yourselves. But I appreciate you guys. Right, you guys are doing something that is going to create waves and things around you, and I'll be your biggest supporter any way I can help out as well.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And we're proud of you too. Doing big things.
I ain't doing nothing. I'm just over here talking to a mic.
Right.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it. Shameless plug. I turn 40 next month.
You get it before me. I'm a month after you.
Yes, we'll have to reschedule that cocktail session.
All right, everybody. Well, to the next cocktail, to the next conversation. You guys stay safe out there.
All right.
Cocktails, Code, and Conversation is brought to you by the On the Corner Media Group. Check us out at onthecorner.us for more great content.